This is a presentation by Dr. Tess of GFM Weight Management on how the food industry is contributing to the obesity epidemic. Let's begin with a major myth that the food industry is trying to sell you. Snacking is good for you. It's supposed to help you lose weight. It's supposed to keep your blood sugar up so that your mind is ready for everything work throws at you. The whole institution of snacking as part of the daily diet is a fairly recent concept. Back in the 1960s and the beginning of the 1970s, we ate 3 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, and supper. You ate until you were full, and if you asked for a snack in the afternoon, your mom said you should have eaten more at lunch. If you asked for a bedtime snack, you should have eaten more at supper. We didn't have snacks back then. The food companies weren't packaging foods that way. And we had about a 12-hour period of eating nothing between supper and breakfast, which got its name because we were breaking our overnight fast. Nowadays, however, we have been convinced that if we don't have that snack, our blood sugar is going to drop and we're going to die. And the food companies have responded by making snacks easily available. Not only have they made them available, but they're also telling you that you need them. If you were a frequent habitué of Quick Trip before social distancing, you might have noticed their campaign to present snacks as healthful. First, they had the sign saying, "Is it a snack? Is it a meal? Yes, it's a snackle." And they coined a new phrase, "Be a snacklet," implying that the good athlete snacks all the time. Right over the soft drink dispenser, they had a sign saying, "The snacklet is only as good as his last snackle." Of course, the message isn't getting through now because the soft drink dispenser isn't being used thanks to coronavirus. Then there's the Belvita breakfast biscuit commercial on TV. Belvita is not just good for breakfast. You need one to get through 9 a.m., then 10 a.m., then 11 a.m. The slender woman at work is supposed to have that biscuit every hour to be ready for whatever happens, as they show her in different work environments for each hour of the morning. So what's the problem with snacking? Snacking means we are eating all the time, and our bodies didn't evolve to be eating all the time. Our bodies are prepared to eat when the food is there and do without when the hunt or the harvest fails, and still keep our blood sugar, glucose level normal. In fact, that's what's supposed to happen. Now let's go through how it's supposed to work. We eat, our blood glucose goes up. Even if you eat a steak or a burger or a salad, it all makes the blood sugar go up. In response, our pancreas secretes insulin. Insulin binds to the insulin receptors on cells so that they open up glucose channels, which lets the glucose inside or the cell metabolizes it into energy to do whatever that particular cell is supposed to do. You're supposed to eat just enough for all the glucose to be used up. And the natural result is that the blood sugar is supposed to drop. As a result, the insulin level is supposed to drop too. That's what's normal. But what happens if what we eat produces more glucose than the cells need? The blood sugar stays elevated. The pancreas goes on secreting insulin. And that insulin may keep the cells open, but they're already full, so the glucose stays in your blood, so your blood sugar stays up. So insulin goes on to its next function. It takes the extra glucose and turns it into glycogen, which is stored in our liver for use when we aren't eating. When we aren't eating, the liver takes that glycogen and turns it back into glucose to keep our blood sugar at a safe level. Quite frankly, we don't need to snack. The liver holds enough glycogen to allow us to go 24 to 36 hours without eating, and your blood sugar will not drop. That's what's normal. But there is a limit to how much glycogen the liver can store. What happens if what we eat keeps the blood sugar elevated even after all the cells are full and the glycogen storage tank is full? Well, the pancreas keeps on secreting insulin, and the insulin goes on to its next function. It takes the rest of the glucose and packages it into fat cells. And unfortunately, those fat cells get stored all sorts of places where they're not supposed to be. But hopefully the insulin level finally drops because it's worked through all the extra glucose in the bloodstream. That's what's supposed to happen. And in the days of 3 meals a day, that did happen. But now we don't go even 2 hours without eating something because we've been told it's healthy. Snacking means our blood sugar stays up because we never give it a chance to go down. Therefore, insulin is always elevated and it's making fat all the time. So what is the cause of obesity? Insulin causes obesity. You thought it was people sitting around eating too much and not exercising. Not. It's elevated levels of insulin. If the blood glucose is always elevated and the glycogen storage tank is full and we keep snacking, then insulin can do nothing but make fat. Therefore, directly or indirectly, the habit of snacking participates in the development of obesity. You may think you're a snackly, but you're still going to gain weight. The next point I want to make is that weight gain is not a matter of how much you eat. It's a matter of what you eat and when you eat it. We've already discussed the when in detail. Now let's talk about the what. For years, there has been one mantra spoken to us by most doctors. Eat a diet low in fat and replace it with carbohydrates. Not to publicize my age, but I come from a generation before the U.S. government decided fat was bad for us. When I asked my mom how to lose weight, she said, eat less starchy and sugary food. And it worked. I could switch to protein and drop 5 pounds in a week. But that's not what the government has been telling us. When I say the government decided fat was bad, I'm not referring to some deep state anti-Trump conspiracy. It was all done out in the open, and it happened this way. In the 1950s and 1960s, the rate of heart disease post-World War II was going up. Saturated fat was proposed as the culprit, but the medical evidence was not conclusive. In January 1977, however, George McGovern and the Senate's Select Committee on Nutrition and Human Needs made the decision that fat was the cause and all Americans needed to go on a low-fat diet to avoid heart attacks, strokes, high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, and cancer. This led to the famous USDA food pyramid that had as its base bread and cereals and rice and pasta. We were told to eat 6 to 11 servings of carbs a day, plus more servings of starchy vegetables. And we were to avoid saturated fat like the plague. But that diet is what precipitated upon the country the present epidemic of obesity. The U.S. food industry immediately gravitated towards making refined, low-fat foods. But when you take out the fat, there goes the flavor. So food processing companies began loading up those low-fat foods with sugars, corn syrup, partially hydrogenated vegetable oils, chemicals you can't pronounce to put the flavor back in. We got margarine instead of butter, which contained artificial trans fats, which were banned by the FDA in 2018. And we got monounsaturated fats, MUFAs, and polyunsaturated fats, PUFAs. And now we're getting evidence that PUFAs were not necessarily good for us, although we were originally told that they were. So why do we buy this stuff? Because it's cheap, because it's quick, and because it's easy to prepare. Then the food industry packaged these foods in meal size and snack size. Forget eggs and bacon for breakfast and grab a protein bar and run out the door. You don't even have to sit down long enough to eat a bowl of cereal. How many kids get sent out the door with a cereal bar to consume on the way to school? How many of them have Jello cups, lots of sugar, no fiber, or fruit cups in heavy syrup in their lunch boxes? And because these foods are cheap, low-income families buy them, and the Feed the Hungry organizations put them into boxes for easy distribution, and church food pantries are loaded with them. This is why there is so much obesity in low-income families. They can't afford healthy food. This is what leads to so many higher income people sneering at food insecure families and claiming they don't need food stamps because they're obviously getting enough to eat or mom wouldn't be obese. Until recently, most doctors have worshiped at the altar of low saturated fat. And the reason no one is losing weight is explained away as chronic countrywide non-adherence to the recommended diet. But we did follow the diet. We ate low fat, high carb, and that's what got us where we are now. I remember telling my diabetic patients to limit their carbs to 45 grams per meal and 15 grams per snack. That adds up to 135 grams of carbohydrate just at meals. With the snacks, it's 180 grams. To put that into perspective, compare it to the keto diet, which limits you to 20 grams a day. Let's go back to those Belvita breakfast biscuits. The serving size is 1 pack of 4 biscuits. Each serving size contains 36 grams of carbohydrate. In that 36 grams are 11 grams of added sugar. So the slender lady eats 1 serving for breakfast, then has another at 9 and 10 and 11. She has consumed 140 grams of carbohydrate without lunch and not taking into account all those afternoon snacks that she is almost certainly eating. Now maybe she's only eating 1 biscuit each hour. Then it's not so bad. Figure 1 serving, 4 biscuits for breakfast, 36 grams, then 9 grams each hour, and that last hour she's probably eating 2 biscuits because who's going to leave an open package with 1 biscuit in it? So that's 72 grams of carbohydrates just in the morning. The enemy is in plain sight. It's the carbohydrates, folks. Breads and grains and cereals before you or they add the sugar, and pastries and cake and pasta and rice and flour. They're all carbohydrates, and even worse, they are refined carbohydrates. They don't even have the original fiber in them. That's all been refined out. Why are they so bad? Why do they make obesity levels soar? It's because they have a simple molecular structure. Most of them are long strings of saccharides, sugary molecules attached to a carbon backbone. Carbohydrates are so easy to break down into sugar that your saliva starts breaking them down before they even get to your stomach. You don't need a donut to taste the sweet. You can taste it with just a bite of bread. You never noticed this? Then pause the video and go get a piece of bread and take a bite. Okay, you're back. Did you taste it? So eating carbohydrates makes your blood sugar go up. And remember, when blood sugar stays up, the insulin levels go up or just stay up. And as we learned earlier, insulin spends its time packing excess glucose into fat cells and storing them where they should not be, like in your liver, or around your pancreas, or around your intestinal organs. It's called visceral fat, and it is worse for your heart than subcutaneous fat, which gives you the cellulite on your legs and buttocks. There comes a point in type 2 diabetes when, according to the endocrinologist, the pancreas burns out and you can't supply your own insulin. But the pancreas is not burned out. It's just socked in with visceral fat. Lose enough weight and your pancreas will reanimate. The other problem with carbohydrates is that it's easy to eat a lot of them. Everyone knows one person can sit down with a supersized bag of potato chips and eat the whole thing while watching a made-for-TV movie. You never get full with carbohydrates, especially the refined carbs. They don't trigger your satiety hormones, cholecystokinin and peptide YY, which tell you that you're full. With no satiety hormones, you keep on eating. And let's return to those Belvita biscuits. How much do you want to bet she doesn't stick to one biscuit each hour? Well, that's all we have time for today. I'll be back with more things that are wrong with carbohydrates and just what other effects insulin has on your body. This is Dr. Tess signing off.